Ethan had seen strange things in his time as a research officer on Earth's outer colony, but he never expected a royal alien ship to land in his backyard. The door opened. Two tall aliens stepped out, one proud and glowing with gold armor. The other, a woman, quiet, cold, eyes like stars. The alien man said just one thing: "This is my wife. I'll return in 3 Earth days. Keep her safe." And just like that, he left. His ship vanished into the sky. But 3 days passed, then 4, then 7, and the alien princess, she never spoke, never ate. She just stared at the sky, and sometimes at Ethan. Then the lights in his house began flickering. His machines turned on by themselves, and at night, he heard whispers. Until one night, Ethan woke up to find her standing by his bed, her eyes glowing softly. She whispered, "He's not coming back, is he?" The sky above Earth's outer colony was quiet that day. Ethan sat alone in his small outpost, working on some data reports. His station was far from any city, deep in a rocky desert. No one visited here. No one even called. It had been months since he saw another human in person. That's why the sound of something landing outside froze him in place. He stepped outside slowly. Dust rose into the air. A ship stood before him, shining, tall, and unlike anything human-made. The design looked smooth like melted silver. Lights moved across its surface. Like water. Then the door opened. Two aliens stepped out. One was tall and confident, wearing robes and glowing bands on his arms. The other was different. She walked slowly, her face calm, almost sad. She had smooth silver skin and long white hair that moved gently even without wind. Her eyes were soft blue, almost too deep to look into. The male alien looked straight at Ethan. "You're the human caretaker of this station?" he asked in perfect English. Ethan nodded slowly, still unsure if he was dreaming. "My ship needs repairs, minor ones," the alien said. "I will be gone for a short time. My wife will remain here with you. She cannot return with me right now." Ethan blinked. "Wait, what?" "Just give her food and space. Do not worry, she will not harm you." Before Ethan could say anything else, the alien man turned. He spoke something in another language to the woman. She looked at Ethan once, then nodded silently. The ship rose into the sky and vanished within seconds. Ethan was left standing alone. The alien woman, his guest, now stood beside him, without speaking. Inside the outpost, she sat on the floor, not using any chair. She did not speak, did not move much. Ethan offered food. She didn't eat. He brought water. She didn't drink. She simply sat near the window and looked up at the sky. Her presence was calm, but strange. The machines in his lab started acting different. The lights dimmed when she walked past them. His computer showed symbols he didn't recognize. On the second night, he found her outside, barefoot, standing in the sand. She was looking at the stars again. Ethan stepped closer. "You're cold," he said. "You should come inside." She didn't answer, but she turned her head slightly, as if she heard his words and remembered them. The next day, she walked slowly through the rooms, touching things softly: his old books, a cracked photo frame, a map of Earth. She said nothing, but wherever she walked, the air felt warmer, almost peaceful. Ethan wasn't scared, but he wasn't sure what was happening either. On the 4th day, he started to worry. The alien man had said he'd be back in 3 days, but now it had been longer. No ship returned, no signal, nothing. Ethan tried sending messages. All systems worked, but no reply came from anyone. It was as if someone blocked his signals. That night, strange things happened. The door to the lab opened and closed by itself. His small music device played a soft melody even though it wasn't plugged in. The lights blinked in a soft pattern, like they were breathing. And when Ethan checked the hallway camera, it showed her standing in the middle of the corridor, eyes closed, glowing faintly. The glow faded as she walked back to her room. Ethan couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, watching the ceiling, wondering if the alien man had really planned to come back, or if he had left his wife behind on purpose. Around midnight, Ethan heard a soft sound, a whisper, then silence. He opened his eyes. She was standing beside his bed. He froze. Not from fear, but from confusion. She didn't speak. Her eyes were glowing again, just a little. The light came from deep inside them. Then, she finally whispered something. Just one line. "He's not coming back, is he?" Her voice was soft, full of something Ethan couldn't describe. Not sadness, not anger, something in between. Ethan sat up slowly. "I don't know," he said honestly. She looked down, quiet. Again. Then she walked back to the window and stared at the stars once more. Ethan watched her, heart beating fast. He didn't know what had just started, but he knew one thing for sure. Things were no longer normal. Everything had just begun to change. The next morning, Ethan woke up early. He hadn't slept much. His mind kept returning to the words she spoke beside his bed. "He's not coming back, is he?" That voice, soft and full of quiet pain, stayed with him like an echo. He walked into the living room. She was already there, standing near the window. Her back was straight, hands folded gently in front of her. She hadn't moved much all night. The sunlight touched her silver skin, making her look almost like glass touched by fire. Ethan made tea, not expecting her to want any. But this time, she turned toward him, slowly. Her eyes were no longer glowing, but something inside them looked brighter. "I made some for you too," Ethan said carefully, placing a cup on the table. She looked at the cup, then at him. Then, surprisingly, she sat down. It was the first time she had used a chair. She didn't drink, but she placed her hands around the warm cup like it was something new, something worth holding. Ethan sat across from her. "You haven't told me your name," he said gently. She hesitated, then said, "Kailari." He repeated it softly, "Kailari, that's beautiful." For a moment, her lips moved like she was about to smile, but it faded before it fully appeared. Hours passed. She didn't go back to the window. She walked around the outpost slowly, watching everything with quiet focus. Books, wires, even the way water flowed from the tap. She watched as if she was seeing things for the first time. Ethan followed her into the tech room. She stopped in front of his computer, placed her hand on the surface, and the screen flickered. Symbols flashed across it. Not words, not anything human. He stared in shock. "What did you do?" Kailari looked at him, eyes calm. "Your machines are soft. They listen." "I didn't think they were listening to you. They listen to emotion," she said softly. "This place is full of it." Ethan didn't know what to say. His outpost had always been quiet, lonely, but somehow her presence was changing it. Not just the mood, but the very air. That night, he heard soft music. Not from a speaker, it was in the air, a slow melody, like wind moving through glass. He walked through the outpost, searching for the source. He found Kailari standing near the storage room, hand on the wall. The lights around her glowed in waves. The music followed the rhythm of her breath. He stepped closer. "Is that from you?" "I remember songs," she whispered. "They were not allowed." "But I remember, not allowed?" She nodded. "Emotion is a danger. They said I felt too much. That's why he left me here." Ethan's heart sank. "You were abandoned." Kailari didn't answer, but she looked at him, and for the first time, he saw a single tear. It didn't fall. It floated just below her eye, shining like a small star. Ethan reached out slowly. He didn't know why. Maybe to comfort her, maybe to understand her. But as his fingers touched her hand, something happened. His skin glowed. Just for a moment, a soft shimmer, like her light had passed into him. He pulled back, confused. "What was that?" Kailari looked down at his hand. "You are not changing," she said. "You are remembering." "Remembering what?" "Something your kind forgot." Long ago, that night, Ethan dreamed. He wasn't in the outpost. He was floating above a sea of lights. He saw planets, stars, strange cities made of sound. He saw Kailari standing in the middle of it all, reaching out to him. When he woke up, his pillow was wet, a nosebleed. Kailari stood silently in the doorway. "They will come soon," she said. "They will find me, or you." "Why?" Ethan asked, heart racing. "Because I'm not supposed to feel, and you're not supposed to remember." Ethan didn't know what any of it meant, but something inside him had already changed, and deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The days felt longer now. Time inside the outpost moved differently, like it was stretching and folding around Ethan and Kalari. Everything around him had started to shift. Small things at first. The temperature inside stayed perfectly balanced without him touching the system. His broken tools, which had been useless for months, began to work again. Some of them even repaired themselves. Kalari still didn't speak much, but her silence was never empty. When she walked into a room, it was as if the walls could breathe. There was calm in her presence, but also a question that never left. Ethan could feel it pressing on him, like she was waiting for something he didn't yet understand. One afternoon, while cleaning the old storage room, Ethan found something strange. Behind a rusted panel was a small compartment sealed, hidden. He had never seen it before, even after years of working there. Inside was a small cube, smooth and dark. When he touched it, the cube glowed. Lines of light ran across it, and it began to hum softly. Then it opened. Inside was a recording. A projection appeared in the air, flickering, unstable. It was the alien man, the one who had brought Kalari. Ethan froze. "If you are seeing this," the alien man said, "then I have not returned, and she is still with you." The image shook for a moment, then continued. "She may seem calm, gentle, curious, but know this, her presence will begin to change you. She is not dangerous in the way you understand, but her emotions are not like yours. They are powerful, uncontrolled. She was born in a place where feelings were shaped, not allowed. We tried to guide her. We failed." Ethan stared, barely breathing. "She is beginning to connect," the message said. "If you care for her, protect her, but also protect yourself." Then the cube dimmed and shut off. Ethan sat still for a long time. He didn't know what to think. He had been with Kalari for days. She hadn't hurt him. She hadn't even raised her voice, but he couldn't deny something strange was happening. He could feel things more deeply now, small joys, old memories, quiet sadness. It was like his mind had been asleep for years and was now waking up. He walked to Kalari's room. She was sitting by the window again, watching the sky. "As always, I found a message," he said softly. She didn't look at him. "I know. You knew he left that behind." She nodded once. "Why didn't you tell me?" She turned her face slightly, enough for him to see her expression. "Because I was afraid you would stop seeing me as me." He stepped closer. "Then who are you?" "Kalari." Her voice was quiet. "I was created to be perfect, to smile without feeling, to speak without thinking, to obey without asking. But then I saw a child cry. I didn't understand it, but I couldn't stop thinking about it." She paused, her voice softer now. "And then I felt it, the sadness, and the beauty inside it." Ethan sat down near her, not saying a word. "I tried to hide my feelings, but they kept growing. My people said I was broken, dangerous, so they sent me away. He said he would protect me, but when the time came, he left." The room felt heavy, but not in a painful way, more like it was full of something real. Ethan looked at his hands. "You said I'm changing. You're remembering." Kalari said again, "Your kind used to feel deeply. You used to sing to the stars, build things just for joy. You were alive in ways no one else was. But then, something changed." Ethan thought about his past, the quiet life, the forgotten dreams, the loneliness he had learned to live with. And now, here was someone from another world, reminding him of something lost. That night, he dreamed again, but this time, it felt real. He was walking through a glowing forest. The trees whispered softly. Kalari was there, waiting by a silver lake. She reached out her hand. He touched it, and in that moment, thousands of memories rushed into his mind, none of them his, worlds he had never seen, songs he had never heard, feelings he had never felt. He woke up gasping for breath. A strange light pulsed in the room. Kalari stood by the door. "They know I'm still here," she said. "They will come. Who, my people, or what they send in their place?" Ethan stood slowly, still shaking. "Why would they come now?" "Because the connection is growing, between you and me, and they fear it." Ethan didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew this Kalari wasn't just a guest in his house anymore. She was becoming part of his world, and something told him she had always been meant to. Asterisk, the wind outside had stopped completely. Not even the dust moved anymore. Ethan stood at the edge of the outpost's observation deck, staring up at the sky. It looked the same as always, blue, wide, calm. But he could feel it in his chest. Something was coming. The air had a strange taste now. The quiet didn't feel peaceful. It felt like the space between the heartbeats. Kalari hadn't spoken much since that night. She moved through the rooms slower than before, like the air around her was heavier. Her glow dimmed and brightened at odd times, and her skin sometimes shimmered with patterns Ethan didn't recognize. Ethan walked into the control room and checked the scanners. The radar screen was blank, but the frequency monitor showed something new, a signal. Very weak, very slow, but it was there. A pulse, not random, not natural. He turned to Kalari, who had just stepped into the room behind him, as if she already knew what he'd found. They're close, she said quietly. Who is it? My people, or something they control. Ethan looked at the signal again. What will they do? They will not speak. They will not ask. They will just take me. Ethan stood there, trying to understand the calm in her voice. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was acceptance, like she had already made peace with it long ago. You don't want to go back, he said. She shook her head. I left that place the moment I began to feel. My body stayed there, but my heart, it never returned. He sat down, feeling the weight of her words. Then we have to stop them. Kalari turned to him, her expression unreadable. You cannot stop what you cannot see. They don't arrive like your ships. They arrive through thought, through memory, through emotion. Ethan felt a chill. Then what can I do? Kalari walked to the center of the room and placed her hand on the floor. Slowly, she began to hum. The floor responded. A low vibration spread through the metal panels. Then something rose from the ground, an old panel he'd never seen before. Beneath it, a small box pulsed with soft green light. What is that? Ethan asked. A link, she said. Between you and me. It was left here long before you arrived, in case this ever happened. She touched it, and the box opened. Inside was a smooth sphere of light. It floated, rising into the air. As it hovered, a projection appeared, a map of stars, shapes moving, shifting, alive, and in the center, two figures, one human, one glowing. Like Kalari, Ethan watched in silence. This is the old path, she whispered. The one your kind once walked. You were not just explorers of space. You were dreamers. You touched the minds of others without machines. You sang across galaxies. He looked at her. But we forgot. Yes, she said. And now, some of you are waking again. The sphere dimmed and slowly returned to the box. I didn't ask for any of this, Ethan said softly. Kalari looked at him gently. But you opened the door anyway. Outside, the wind began again. But it wasn't natural wind. It came from nowhere, swirling in perfect patterns, forming lines in the sand. Ethan stepped outside to look. What he saw made his heart skip. Symbols, dozens of them, forming in the dust like they were being written by invisible hands. Lines, circles, patterns too perfect for chance. Kalari stepped out behind him. They're reaching out. They're almost here. Ethan stared at the sky. What happens when they arrive? They will test you, she said. Not with questions, but with memory, with your truth. If you are not ready, they will erase all trace of this moment, even me. He turned to her. And if I am ready, Kalari took a long breath. Then, we will both be free. That night, Ethan sat alone while Kalari entered a deep, glowing sleep. He watched her from the other room. Her body floated slightly above the floor, soft light moving through her veins like tiny stars. She looked peaceful, still. But the peace wasn't outside. The air now buzzed softly. His thoughts were louder than before. He could hear old memories in his head, his mother's voice, forgotten laughter, sounds from a life he thought had faded. He didn't know if this was the beginning of something, or the end of everything he knew. But one thing was clear. Whatever was coming, it had already started inside him. Asterisk, the wind outside had stopped completely. Not even the dust moved anymore. Ethan stood at the edge of the outpost's observation deck, staring up at the sky. It looked the same as always, blue, wide, calm. But he could feel it in his chest. Something was coming. The air had a strange taste now. The quiet didn't feel peaceful. It felt like the space between the heartbeats. Kalari hadn't spoken much since that night. She moved through the rooms slower than before, like the air around her was heavier. Her glow dimmed and brightened at odd times, and her skin sometimes shimmered with patterns Ethan didn't recognize. Ethan walked into the control room and checked the scanners. The radar screen was blank, but the frequency monitor showed something new, a signal. Very weak, very slow, but it was there. A pulse, not random, not natural. He turned to Kalari, who had just stepped into the room behind him, as if she already knew what he'd found. They're close, she said quietly. Who is it? My people, or something they control. Ethan looked at the signal again. What will they do? They will not speak. They will not ask. They will just take me. Ethan stood there, trying to understand the calm in her voice. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was acceptance, like she had already made peace with it long ago. You don't want to go back, he said. She shook her head. I left that place the moment I began to feel. My body stayed there, but my heart, it never returned. He sat down, feeling the weight of her words. Then we have to stop them. Kalari turned to him, her expression unreadable. You cannot stop what you cannot see. They don't arrive like your ships. They arrive through thought, through memory, through emotion. Ethan felt a chill. Then what can I do? Kalari walked to the center of the room and placed her hand on the floor. Slowly, she began to hum. The floor responded. A low vibration spread through the metal panels. Then something rose from the ground, an old panel he'd never seen before. Beneath it, a small box pulsed with soft green light. What is that? Ethan asked. A link, she said. Between you and me. It was left here long before you arrived, in case this ever happened. She touched it, and the box opened. Inside was a smooth sphere of light. It floated, rising into the air. As it hovered, a projection appeared, a map of stars, shapes moving, shifting, alive, and in the center, two figures, one human, one glowing. Like Kalari, Ethan watched in silence. This is the old path, she whispered. The one your kind once walked. You were not just explorers of space. You were dreamers. You touched the minds of others without machines. You sang across galaxies. He looked at her. But we forgot. Yes, she said. And now, some of you are waking again. The sphere dimmed and slowly returned to the box. I didn't ask for any of this, Ethan said softly. Kalari looked at him gently. But you opened the door anyway. Outside, the wind began again. But it wasn't natural wind. It came from nowhere, swirling in perfect patterns, forming lines in the sand. Ethan stepped outside to look. What he saw made his heart skip. Symbols, dozens of them, forming in the dust like they were being written by invisible hands. Lines, circles, patterns too perfect for chance. Kalari stepped out behind him. They're reaching out. They're almost here. Ethan stared at the sky. What happens when they arrive? They will test you, she said. Not with questions, but with memory, with your truth. If you are not ready, they will erase all trace of this moment, even me. He turned to her. And if I am ready, Kalari took a long breath. Then, we will both be free. That night, Ethan sat alone while Kalari entered a deep, glowing sleep. He watched her from the other room. Her body floated slightly above the floor, soft light moving through her veins like tiny stars. She looked peaceful, still. But the peace wasn't outside. The air now buzzed softly. His thoughts were louder than before. He could hear old memories in his head, his mother's voice, forgotten laughter, sounds from a life he thought had faded. He didn't know if this was the beginning of something, or the end of everything he knew. But one thing was clear. Whatever was coming, it had already started inside him. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window, watching the symbols outside glow gently in the sand. They didn't fade with the wind. In fact, they seemed to get brighter the quieter everything became. They pulsed like a slow heartbeat, steady, waiting. Inside, Kalari remained in a kind of rest, floating just a few inches above the floor, surrounded by a soft blue light. She wasn't asleep in the human way. Her body didn't move, but her glow would rise and fall, like a silent breath. Ethan knew not to disturb her. Something deep was happening, something she hadn't even explained. The outpost systems were still working, but different now. Doors opened just before he reached them. The lights adjusted to his emotions. When he felt calm, the rooms were bright and warm. When he felt uncertain, shadows grew in the corners. Even the coffee machine poured just enough without him asking. Everything was changing around him and within him. Just after sunrise, Kaylari's glow softened, and her feet slowly touched the floor. She opened her eyes and looked directly at Ethan, as if she knew every thought he'd had during the night. "It's almost time," she said gently. Ethan stood. "Then tell me what I need to do." Kaylari walked to the center of the room and pressed her palm to the ground again. This time, the sphere of light returned, but it looked dimmer than before. "It's weakening," she said. "Your connection to it is growing. That's why they're coming." Ethan didn't fully understand, but he nodded. He had learned to stop asking questions the way he used to. Now, he listened not just to words, but to the quiet between them. "I've seen memories that aren't mine," he said. "I've felt things I've never lived." Kaylari turned to him. "Because you're changing, not into something new but into something forgotten." He looked down at his hands. They looked the same, but he knew they weren't. He could feel the world through them now. Touch had meaning. Even silence felt full. Kaylari stepped closer. "They are watching, Ethan, right now. Through you, through me, through the space between us." "Then what do they want?" She tilted her head slightly. "They want to see if you will choose." "Choose what?" Kaylari didn't answer right away. Instead, she placed her hand gently over his heart. "To stay the same, or to become something more." The words were simple, but they echoed inside him like thunder. A sudden sound broke the moment, a soft hum, rising from the outpost ceiling. The lights flickered in patterns. A soft voice, not human, not alien, spoke from the walls. Connection confirmed. Ethan looked around. "Who said that?" Kaylari didn't seem surprised. "They are closer than ever." Then, something even more unexpected happened. A human voice came through the outpost's communicator. "Research Station 12, this is Central Command. We're detecting strange energy patterns from your location. Please confirm all is well, Athens." Heart jumped. A real, human voice. Earth Command. The outside world. He reached for the mic but paused. Kaylari looked at him calmly. "This is the choice." "What do you mean?" "If you respond," she said, "they will come. Humans, officials, scientists. They will try to understand what's happening, but they won't be ready for it. And once they interfere, the connection may break." Ethan's hand hovered over the mic. "And if I don't respond?" he asked. "Then we go forward, together, into the unknown." Ethan felt the weight of the moment. On one side, Earth, logic, safety. On the other side, something he couldn't name, but felt drawn to. He stepped back from the mic. "I'm not calling them," he said. Kaylari nodded once. "Then we have to leave." "Now," Ethan blinked. "Leave? How?" "The ship is broken." She led him outside. The symbols in the sand had changed. They now formed a wide circle around the outpost. At the center was the ship, no longer silent, no longer broken. Its silver surface pulsed with soft light. It had repaired itself, but not in any way human technology could explain. "It was never really damaged," Kaylari said. "It was waiting for a signal only you could give." Ethan walked toward the ship. The ramp lowered, smooth and silent. He turned to Kaylari. "If I go inside, what happens to me?" "You won't be less human," she said. "You'll just be more awake." Ethan looked back once at the outpost, his home for so many years, and then, without speaking, he stepped into the ship. Kaylari followed Dot as the ship closed behind them. The sand symbols vanished. The outpost dimmed, and above them, in the blue morning sky, a shimmer of light spread like ripples in water. The world didn't know what had just happened, but something had shifted, and somewhere deep in space, the watchers smiled in silence. The stars outside the ship were no longer still. Ethan stood at the edge of the viewing deck, watching streaks of color ripple across the dark space like slow waves. The stars shimmered alive, pulsing, aware. He felt it in his chest like a quiet hum calling him. Forward. Behind him, Kaylari moved with calm purpose. She touched the ship's controls, not buttons, not screens, but smooth crystal-like panels that responded to her thoughts. The ship wasn't being flown in the way humans understood. It was being guided through memory, feeling, trust. Where are we now? Ethan asked. Kaylari didn't look up. Not a place, a layer. One between what is seen and what is waiting. Ethan blinked. I don't understand. You're not supposed to, she said softly. Not yet. Ethan stepped closer. But I'm here with you. Doesn't that mean something? Kaylari turned to him, eyes glowing faintly. Yes. It means you were chosen, not because you were special, but because you listened. A low vibration passed through the ship, like a heartbeat slowing down. Kaylari walked to the center of the room and placed something small in Ethan's hand. It looked like a piece of glass, but when he looked closely, he saw shifting images inside his own memories, his thoughts, even things he hadn't said aloud. What is this? He asked. A mirror, she said, but not for your face, for your truth. He held it, unsure. It was warm, alive in his palm. The images inside moved faster as his heart did. He saw the day he arrived at the outpost, the loneliness, the silence, then her arrival, and now, all of this. Why are you showing me this now? He asked. Because we're about to arrive, she said, and when we do, you must remember who you are, before they try to change you. Who's they? Ethan asked. More cautious now, Kaylari didn't answer with words. The ship slowed, and through the main window, a planet came into view. But it wasn't a normal planet. It had no land, no sea. It shimmered with layers of floating crystal, rings of energy drifting in slow motion. Beings of light moved across its surface, not walking, not flying, just existing in waves and pulses. The entire world was alive, not with machines or cities, but with feeling. What is this place? Ethan asked, his voice barely a whisper. Kaylari looked out at the strange, beautiful world. My origin, my truth, and now yours too. The ship descended, and as it did, Ethan felt pressure in his mind, not pain, but awareness. Thoughts that weren't his entered gently, voices, questions, shapes. They weren't speaking in words. They were reaching into his memories, trying to understand him without fear. He stumbled slightly. There, inside my head, there. Greeting you, Kaylari said gently, not with fear, with welcome. Ethan braced himself. But then, something inside him settled. He stopped trying to resist, and just like that, it felt calm, natural, like returning to a place he never knew he missed. The ship landed without sound. The ramp opened into light that didn't blind, but wrapped around them like warmth. Kaylari extended her hand. You don't have to come, she said. Ethan looked at her, then at the glowing world ahead. I didn't come this far to stop now. They stepped down together. The surface of the world wasn't hard or soft. It shifted gently under his feet, adjusting to him. Around them, the glowing beings gathered not with noise or fear, but with curiosity and peace. One of them moved forward. Its shape shimmered like water, sometimes tall, sometimes wide. And then it shifted into a form Ethan recognized his own. It stood before him, a mirror of himself, and spoke without speaking. You have walked far to find the part of you we carry. Ethan didn't know what to say, but Kaylari whispered, you don't need words, just listen. The being stepped forward and touched his chest. In that moment, memories flooded Ethan, not just his, but Kaylari's, and others he didn't know. Generations of connection, a deep history of humans, and them interwoven, forgotten, hidden. And now remembered. Tears formed in Ethan's eyes, not from sadness, but from the weight of truth. He looked at Kaylari. Why me? She smiled. Because you were never separate, only sleeping. The world shifted again. Around them, the light grew warmer, brighter. And then, a soft voice, this time human, echoed from behind. Ethan, is that you? He turned slowly. Standing just outside the ship was another figure, someone from Earth, a new rival, and everything changed again.